Hello, welcome to Generally Speaking. I'm your host, Bill Lawrence. Today is Saturday, July 12th, 2025. What am I going to speak about today? Well, we're going to start with something that's been more and more in the news lately, the organization known as Brics. This organization was formed to try and get out from under the oppressive administrations of the United States and the Western countries, generally speaking. Specifically, dealing with organizations such as the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. These organizations uh, are there to help countries ostensibly, maybe fund major projects that they need or help carry them over a budgetary shortfall. But whatever deals they receive from these organizations, they always suffer for it. It's always made so that they come out hurting in the end, and they're tired of that. They want to get away from that, as well as from the general world economic system that's controlled by the United States. All money transfers, all transactions are generally done in US dollars. And they're also generally done through a system established by the West called the SWIFT system. The SWIFT system takes a cut of any transaction that happens, and everything has to be paid in dollars and purchased in dollars, even though that's not what your country's denomination is. So the BRICS is trying to get away from that. They're starting to make deals just between them without using the SWIFT system, without using the US. And the US is getting upset about it. Donald Trump, in fact, just recently said he was going to impose tariffs. This is his favorite thing lately, is throwing tariffs all around. And he picked out one country in particular, Brazil, and highlighted them for an offense in his eyes of trying to prosecute a former politician named Bolsonaro, who's been charged by the Brazilian authorities with an attempted coup. I don't know all the details, so I can't say how much there was or not. But at any rate, Trump doesn't like it. I don't know why, but he wants to make things very difficult for Brazil for doing things internal to their own business. Trump is just like the worst example of the worst that the Republican Party has to offer, that Western capitalism has to offer. At any rate, uh, the BRICS organization are not going to put up with that. They've already said, well, you're going to see consequences from that. That'll be in another production that I'll do later, no doubt. What else do we have here? Trump, um, MAGA. They won. They won their presidential candidate won. MAGA. They're so happy, but the things he promised didn't come true. And what's more is bad things happened that weren't supposed to happen, like the stock market's crashing. Prices haven't gotten any better. They're getting worse. And a lot of immigrants are disappearing that weren't supposed to be, that shouldn't have been. It's supposed to be the criminals, the baddest of the bad, the worst of the worst. And now just hardworking, innocent people, innocent except for that they're here illegally, but otherwise, nice family people taken away. At any rate, though, there's definitely cracks in the MAGA foundation, and you know this when you have people like Roseanne Barr, who's definitely a diehard MAGA person, now questioning her vote for Trump. If she's going to question it, that really indicates a crack. What else do we have? Um, this one is very bad. Francesca Albanese. She works for the United Nations. She's a special rapporteur. I'm not sure what that is. I think it just means this person who specifically reports on whatever it is that they would be assigned to. She's assigned to the Israel conflict with Gaza. And she has been saying right from the start how it's a genocide and has been criticizing Israel relentlessly for the cruel and unjust things that they're doing, and they're horrific. Well, the United States has decided they've had enough of her, and they're going to sanction her. That means any assets she has in the American banks are frozen. If she has money there, she can't get at them. I don't know if she has any or not. The UN is in New York, and she works for the UN, so she might well have accounts in New York banks. If she does, they're frozen. They also have restrictions. Sanctions usually involve restrictions on travel. I don't know if she's in New York, she might not be able to get out, or if she's not in New York, she won't be able to get back in. This is just a totally horrible thing to happen at all. That the the government, if it doesn't like what an individual is saying, they can now punish them. This is becoming a lawless country. Um, and that's my statement for that. What else? We've got Trump, not ever at a loss for saying one crazier thing after another, has suggested taking over New York City and D.C. That maybe he should take it over because, you know, Democrats are they're too liberal, and he needs to control it. And as ridiculous as this would sound under any other circumstances, it might be something that he could try. And considering that everyone in his government just goes right along with him, goodness knows what could happen with that. So what else do we have here? Francesca, the International Criminal Court. Just wanted to mention that um, they want to prosecute Netanyahu for war crimes. Just an interesting comment about the ICC is that neither the United States nor Israel belong to it because, why would they want to have anything to do with, international justice? Um, what else? We've got Israel with their assaults on the people in Gaza. They've come up with a new assault method. They have drones with grenades attached that they can hover over suspected terrorists, drop the bomb, drop the grenade, which will blow up when it gets down there. There was a report by an Israeli soldier on the, anonymous. I have to be anonymous presumption. Can't don't want to know. Doesn't want to give his name about his involvement with that and how they can watch these from the cameras from the drones and see the people blown up. And he was saying how um, that dogs that are in Gaza. I didn't know there were any, but I guess there are. They've become accustomed now to running towards the sounds of shots or bombs going off. Why? Because they know they're going to be bodies there. So these dogs will run over, and now they've got bodies. Now I'm imagining some bodies might be there still alive, maybe without any arms or legs. But what does a dog do when it comes over to someone who's alive but can't move? I shudder to even think about it. What's next? A fellow being nominated for a position on a court, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. His name is Emile Bove. He's already been recorded as telling his subordinates, he works for the Department of Justice. He's been telling them, screw the courts. When he was planning to send the immigrants to El Salvador, which he did, and discussing it with his the people below him, and they're saying, the courts are not going to like this. He said, "Screw the courts. We're just going to do whatever we feel like doing." So now he's up. He's been nominated for a position on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. And as horrible a person as he is, since there's all Republicans that control the say so at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they elect him. They say it's all right. Republicans are just plain horrible. All right. So What else? We've got more on Israel and Gaza. They're now planning on making a designated area for all the people in Gaza. All of you move over to here. This will be a place where you'll be safe and you'll be better off somehow. Better off how? And can you really even think that they have any of that interest, considering they shoot them constantly? They even set up food distribution centers. Very few food distribution centers. They block most food going into Gaza, but they do allow some to be set up. But they're only set up so that when the people come to get the food, they're easy targets for the soldiers to shoot them. They shoot them when they're going to get the food. These Israelis are just monsters. So, what do you think? They're going to make a special area where everybody can go and be safe. Where number one, it's not something where you can go and be safe. It's that you had better go there because if you don't, we're going to shoot you. And I don't know how much of a threat that is, considering they're already shooting them. They already shoot people left and right. Um, I don't know why they haven't just gone in with all their gunships and just shot everybody all at once. And what I don't know what slows them down. What do they think? Oh, that will be, someone might complain about that. No one's complaining too much, significantly. And besides saying, well, that's really bad, but no one's doing anything about it. Everybody that sends them weapons is still selling them. The United States, France, Germany, Britain, all sending them weapons. It's funny. I notice sometimes I see videos of members of parliament or whatever substitutes for a parliament in all the different countries. I see members standing up, speaking about the horrors that are happening in Israel and how this government is, supporting them. I guess those members are the minority because the governments are still supporting them, still supporting Israel. What else we got going on? We got Australia recently decided to follow the United States leads in defunding any university that doesn't sufficiently defend against anti-Semitism. And anti-Semitism these days just means complaining about the genocide in Gaza. I don't even know why they have to try and hide it behind anti-Semitism. It clearly has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. Why don't they just come out and say, if you're against Israel, period, then that's what we don't like. We're going to defund you. We're going to make your life difficult. And they're happy to do that again with that Francesca Albanese. Now they're coming after citizens. I don't know who these agencies are, who these people are. It's like they belong all hooked up together somewhere or other, where they're this pro-Israel group, and they're in power and they're higher ups, and it's like some sort of clique, secret organization. What else we got going on here? Canada. Well, let's go back to Canada now. They wanted to put a tax on the companies like Google or Amazon that do business, sell products in Canada, and tax them, have some sort of taxation on it. That's normally how governments deal with businesses doing business in their states. You sell products or services, and part of that gets taxed and goes to the state. So Google and Amazon and other online businesses aren't in Canada, but they do business in Canada, and so Canada wants to tax them. Well, apparently this upset President Trump, and he told Canada, "Well, we're going to raise the tariffs on Canadian steel more than the 25% that's already in place. We're going to make it 50%." Well, this just really only hurt United States more than it hurt Canada, because a lot of this steel used in the automobile manufacturing industry comes from Canada. So now this is going to cost even more. This is going to cause more headaches. This is going to make it more expensive to make cars in the United States. What's more is Canada decided, we're going to sell our steel somewhere else then. We won't even sell you any steel. How do you like that? Not only if you get any steel from us will you end up paying more, But we're not going to have as much to sell you because we're going to start selling it to the Europeans. One thing that all these fights that the United States is picking with Canada and with all the other countries that it wants to put tariffs on is it's made them think twice about dealing with America. Now they're working to deal with each other, keep America out. Recent deal with Canada and Europe and Greenland for the extracting the minerals was struck, and the United States gets no piece of it. The United States is getting cut out of all kinds of deals more and more because of its belligerent behavior and its unpredictable behavior. One of the impacts from all these tariffs has been from China with rare earths. Rare earths aren't really rare; they're just hard to get out of the ground. And when you do get them out, they're very polluting. So it's very expensive just to dig it. Very expensive to deal with the pollution. So most countries don't. Only China has continued, and they've dealt with the pollution. They've refined the process very well. They've got the extraction down good, the pollution control down good. So they're the only ones now with putting out rare earths. And now they can tell people like the United States, you want to give us a hard time, we won't sell you the rare earths. And rare earths are very essential for almost everything, electronics, artilleries, um, you name it, rare earths are in them, windmills, rare earths. So they're striking back, and not just with rare earths, but with agriculture. The pork. China is the biggest consumer of pork in the planet, and they've decided to use it as a lever against the EU and the United States with regards to EVs, electric vehicles. Apparently, China makes them very cheap because the government subsidizes them, and so the United States and Europe, it's hard for them to compete. They can't produce them at the same low price, so they put tariffs, and the tariffs were in place, and they found to strike a balance that worked, and so the Chinese cars could still come in, but they were still outselling the European and Tesla American cars because they actually were very much better. They were better in all ways around. So so the Europeans and the United States put higher tariffs, made it even more difficult for the Chinese to sell the cars. So the Chinese struck back by going after pork. Said, "Listen, we're not going to buy American pork. We're not going to buy European pork." And where will they get their pork? Russia. Russia's happy to step up. Russia's under so many sanctions as it is. Being able to sell pork is an income for them. So there goes the European pork farmers and the American pork farmers. This all just makes me think, why is there all this competition in the world? Why is it all this, we have to beat you, we are against you, we're fighting you. Why can't people just work together? Look, the Chinese can make all these vehicles cheaper. Then let them make the vehicles and have Europe and America stop making the vehicles. Let them get involved with something else. Let everybody make whatever it is they can make and let them make it good. Let it get distributed around the world. People make what they can make. Oh, I guess that would be too simple. That would be too easy. All right. So what else do we have? Corn. Corn has had some issues recently. In fact, American agriculture all around is taking hits left and right. Wheat was hit recently. I don't have all the details on that right now, but I'm talking about corn at the moment. Apparently, the European Union, for one, has more strict concerns about the food they eat than the Americans do. For instance, they don't like glyphosates. They don't like genetically modified foods. For one, I genetically modified. I read something interesting about corn, genetically modified corn, that Actually, if you wanted to go back to the times of the American Indians, the colonists, back to the original corn, that corn actually wasn't original either, because Indians knew how to crossbreed. They knew how to get the best crops possible. They had some agricultural savvy. They were big on living off of the land. They knew agriculture. That the corn that the Indians ate was not the corn of, you go back another 1,000 years to the corn that the Mayans had and the Incas. It was different. But I guess it's one thing to modify corn by just crossbreeding and growing. It's another thing to take a needle and stick it down into the genes itself and modify that. Is it really different? I don't know, but the Europeans think so, and they don't want any genetically modified corn. They don't want the glyphosates. Glyphosates are known to mess with your endocrines, your hormones, your bodily functions. Although our chemical manufacturers, swear up and down that none of that happens. They've got a number of papers to show you that chemicals don't hurt you; they're actually good for you. You'll be much better off with these chemicals. Well, the Europeans don't think so. So they don't want the glyphosates. They don't want the GMOs. And believe it or not, there's even this other element of carbon footprint, that the manufacturing, the growing, the farming, all has to be carbon conscious. And I have no idea of what elements would go into that. Apparently, there are some. And I also kind of laugh at that, considering all the ways in which the carbon emissions things just aren't being adhered to or followed. the the barriers we're not supposed to break, we've probably broken them already, and it's probably ridiculous. At any rate, the Americans aren't following any of those stuff, and so their corn isn't being bought, and they're having backloads, being truckloads of corn. And the communities are collapsing. The farms are collapsing because they're not selling the corn. They're not selling the corn. They're not selling the wheat. They're not selling the pork. Our food industry is just taking hits left and right. Our our standing in the world is taking hits left and right. The American dollar is taking hits left and right. Well, on that, let me finish with two comical or off notes. One has to do with something called water nets. Water nets. These are nets that collect water, and specifically, we're talking about in the desert, no less. Where you think not much opportunity to collect any water. But these nets collect the water from the air, much the same way as a cold can of liquid will develop moisture on it on the outside. Even though it's a sunny day, it's not raining, you get this moisture on the side of the can. These nets will take the moisture out of the air, I guess mostly in the morning when there's a morning mist, a morning dew kind of thing. And at any rate, these nets accumulate an unbelievable amount of water, that in the desert where there's no water, you now have water. Now, I don't know if you can build an ocean with it, but apparently you can get a lot of water. So that's an interesting fact. And now the last interesting fact, a little humorous, has to deal with tipping, getting tips, and what can get you a better tip. Well, if you're a female, apparently, if you're happily endowed on top, you will get a better tip. And this was done with an experiment of having adjustable endowments placed on a young lady, starting out with minimal endowments and getting her tips amount and having that counted, and then increasing it one level up, and then going to the max, and the tips just came rolling in. They were like double what the normal tips were, and these tips from men as well as women. And so, yes, physical endowment in that department will give you better tips. I hope you enjoyed this. Please give me a like, give me a subscription, a subscribe, and a comment. And have a nice day.